David Lynch was a painter, filmmaker, musician, and author in the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century. As a filmmaker, his films soon achieved cult status. He became recognized as a great filmmaker on a par with Fellini, Bergman, and Kurosawa. But though he spent much of his time as a film director, he said at heart he always felt like a painter. Lynch was born in Missoula, Montana, but spent much of his childhood traveling around the United States. Lynch's father was a research scientist working for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. His mother, Edwina, was an English language tutor. Lynch did this painting when he was about 7. As he grew older, Lynch decided that he wanted to study painting. In 1964, he began studying at the School of the Museum of the Fine Arts in Boston. However, after 1 year, he decided that it wasn't for him. He said, "I was not inspired at all at that place." After leaving the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, he decided he wanted to travel around Europe with his friend Jack Fisk. They had some hopes that in Europe they could train with the Expressionist painter Oskar Kokoschka. However, they found that he was not available and disillusioned returned to the United States after spending only 15 days of their planned 3 years in Europe. When they returned to the States, both Jack Fisk and David enrolled at the Academy of Fine Arts in Philadelphia. Once enrolled at the Academy, Lynch spent little time in the classrooms at the Academy. He preferred his own studio space outside the school environment. This is one of the early paintings he did at the Academy. He was later to say that he hated the school environment. Yet it was during these early years in Philadelphia, while enrolled at the Academy and working at home, that he did some of his most extraordinary paintings. Most of these early paintings were done with black and gray with a bit of color. They were generally in the 5 to 6 foot range. Lynch, along with many of his cohorts at the Academy, were very taken with the famous artist Francis Bacon's work. And glimpses of Francis Bacon's ideas began to show up in their work.
It being a living thing, river like a hand. Jump up and be a cloud again. Rain upon the land. Oh, I'm sure.
Lynch said, in Philadelphia there were great and serious painters, and everybody was inspiring one another, and it was a beautiful time there. There was violence and hate and filth, but the biggest influence in my whole life was Philadelphia. Lynch said, I discovered that if one looks a little closer at this beautiful world, there are always red ants underneath.
The art life is a great life. It's catching ideas and translating them to one medium or another. In the world of painting, it's getting deep into that world and just getting lost in there, and with paint and different things. And it's just a dream to get in there and find things that you love.
After a year or so of being in Philadelphia and at the Academy, Lynch got the idea to do a movie.
It was 1967 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I was going to the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. I was in a room, and I was painting a black painting, and I was looking at this painting, and I heard a wind, and I saw the painting, move a little bit. And that's what started the whole thing. I wanted to see a painting move and have sound to it. And so that led to an animated project on a sculptured screen.
Lynch's second film was called The Alphabet.
The alphabet you can gladly find, full of letters in a row, in the sun. And you know that you're the one. The alphabet is surely fun.
Human form. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, M, V, W, X, Y, Z. Now I've said my ABCs. Tell me what you think of me.
After his film The Alphabet, Lynch received a grant from the American Film Institute. The grant was to do another film. The film Lynch did was called The Grandmother, and Lynch's career as a filmmaker was off and running. After making The Grandmother in Philadelphia, Lynch moved to Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, Lynch continued to make paintings while his career as a filmmaker and director got underway. Living in Los Angeles in 1971, Lynch began studying at the American Film Institute's conservatory, a place he would later describe as being completely chaotic and disorganized. And he realized this was great, because if you wanted to get something done, you had to do it yourself.
It's always an experiment, and it just has to be a certain way, but getting there sometimes it's always thrilling. There's so much happiness in it, but it doesn't always happen in a smooth way. But it's so great to be in it while you're in it deep. I always loved to paint and draw. I felt like this was the life of a painter. I didn't ever think that an adult could be a painter.
Over time, Lynch received Academy Award nominations for Best Director 3 times. He also was nominated for Best Screenplay. He won France's César Award for Best Foreign Film twice, as well as the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. He also won the Golden Lion Award for Lifetime Achievement at the Venice Film Festival. In 1972, Lynch took up transcendental meditation. It became very important to him, and he's been meditating twice daily since then. Lynch said, "Keep your eye on the donut, not on the hole." In 1972-73, Lynch began making the film Eraserhead. He was to say later that this film was heavily inspired by his time in Philadelphia, and referred to the film as his Philadelphia story. Lynch said, "No matter how weird something is, no matter how strange the world is that you're making a film about, it's got to be a certain way. Once you see how that is, it can't be another way, or it's not that place anymore. It breaks the mood or the feeling."
And I met there a kid who was not going to my high school, but I was in the 9th grade, I think. And he was going to a private school. But I was meeting him for the first time in this front yard on the grass. And we started talking, and during the talk, he happened to tell me his father was a painter. And at first I thought maybe a house painter. Then he said, no, a fine art painter. And a bomb went off in my head, literally. And in a millisecond, way less than a full second, I only wanted to be a painter.
in my car. Whoa. The way you've been treating me, baby. Ain't coming back your way.
In the late 70s and early 80s, Lynch did a series of works featuring black and yellow on white.
The line that curves a certain way.
In 1977, Lynch also made the film Elephant Man, a film based on the true story of Joseph Merrick, a heavily deformed man living in Victorian London. Elephant Man was a huge critical and commercial success and earned 8 Academy Award nominations, including Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay for Lynch. It was around 1985 that Lynch began making music. He was inspired by the film composer Angelo Badalamenti. In 1986, Lynch released the 121-minute film Blue Velvet. It earned Lynch an Academy Award nomination for Best Director.
And The Cowboy and the Frenchman came after Blue Velvet. And it came about because of a trip I took to Paris. And we went to a restaurant with a man named Daniel Toscan du Plantier. And it was in that restaurant that Daniel Toscan du Plantier asked me if I wanted to be part of a show. And I thought, and then I said, Danielle, look, I don't have any ideas for this, and I really don't, think so. And he said, fine. And on the way home to the hotel after the restaurant, after this dinner, I started getting these ideas. So when I got back to the hotel, I called him and I said, I got ideas and I want to tell you about them. And I told him and he said, 2 cliches in one.
Are you boys hungry?
I left my home in Amarillo, Texas, only a kid of 16.
In 1990, Lynch released the film Wild at Heart. It was a powerful and engaging, dark, comedy, romance, crime film. And despite mixed reviews, it won the prestigious Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. He also did the irreverent TV show Twin Peaks. In the early 1990s, Lynch did a series of fairly classic photographic images. He also did a series of photographs utilizing photographs from the 1920s distorted with a photographic software. He called the series Distorted Nudes. Lynch said, "We think we understand the rules when we become adults, but what we really experience is a narrowing of the imagination."
I was accepted to the American Film Institute, and I was given an opportunity to make my first feature. I was given money. I had all the equipment I could dream of given to me. At this point, I remember standing and looking at this wall, thinking I should be the happiest person on earth. But I looked inside, and the happiness was just a dance on the surface. Below, hollow. I said, whoa, no inner happiness. Looking back, I felt I had a weakness. I wasn't self-assured. Even though I had great desires and, ideas, I had anxieties like crazy, like everybody. I had a kind of a tremendous anger toward my first wife. I wasn't, dealing with a full deck. There's a thing in people where, for one reason or another, suddenly they become a seeker. They just become a seeker. Somewhere along the line, I heard this phrase, true happiness is not out there, true happiness lies within. And this phrase had a ring of truth to it. They say scientists about 200 or 300 years ago started wondering, what was this matter? What was it really? And they started delving into matter. And in about the 1970s, quantum physics discovered the unified field. The unity of all the particles and all the forces of manifestation, of creation. Unity, oneness. Everything that is a thing, including frogs, fish, babbling brooks, sun, stars, galaxies, the whole universe, superstructures, and all those little elementary particles has emerged from this field. The experience of this field is what's missing in today's life.
After his show in 2014 at the Academy, he joined the Pace Gallery. In 2022, he had a show there. In 2022, he also had a show at the Sperone Westwater Gallery in New York City. David Lynch's legacy is as a painter, musician, and filmmaker. He was one of the few artists to achieve excellence in more than one discipline, and was one of the most beloved artists of the 20th and 21st centuries.